Again, thank you all for joining us. This is part of our New Mexico Access to Justice Community webinar series. Our webinar today will be on Bank on New Mexico. Bank on New Mexico is part of the efforts of the Bank on New Mexico Coalition. And today we hope to highlight resources available to consumers throughout the state, including in your local communities. Our presenter today is Delma Madrigal. Delma is the Economic Equity Director and Bank On Fellow at Prosperity Works, a nonprofit here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Delma is leading strategy and operations for standing up the Bank On New Mexico project. Prior to working at Prosperity Works, she launched Bank On Burque with the city of Albuquerque in June of 2021. She is passionate about utilizing and adapting project management methods and tools within non-traditional spaces and nonprofit work that serves New Mexico communities. Please join me in welcoming Delma Madrigal. And Delma, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Juan. And so glad to be here with all of you to share about Bank On New Mexico. And so I have a presentation. So I'm going to switch over to that. And that way we can get started. So, does everybody see the slides? Looks good? Great. Awesome. So again, so glad to be here today to share with you about no overdraft and low cost checking accounts that are available here in New Mexico. So as Juan mentioned, I am the Economic Equity Director and Bank On Fellow with Prosperity Works. Bank On New Mexico launched in April of this year, so we're fairly new. This is the second Bank On coalition for New Mexico. You may be familiar with the first one, Bank On Burque with the city of Albuquerque, which I had the honor of launching in June of 2021. So I am a project management professional by trade, and I love standing up projects like Bank On that can make a difference in our community. So some of what we'll be looking at today, I'm going to talk a little bit about Prosperity Works and Bank On New Mexico and how all that came together. Then I'm going to talk about the national partner. It's really important for us to share about the national work around this. And then we'll dive into unbanked and underbanked, the whys around that. What are the numbers here for New Mexico? And then what is the banking access here in New Mexico? What does that look like? And then I'll go into some of the tools that we have, the certified accounts and the website and some of the other things to come for Bank On New Mexico. So first of all, Prosperity Works has been powering social and economic opportunity. That is what they're known for, and they've been doing this for over 20 years. Having assets can stabilize and strengthen communities. So Prosperity Works asset work for building and protecting assets are the match savings accounts that can be used to buy a laptop for going to college, starting a burrito business, or purchasing a home. In case you're wondering, yes, these are photos of individuals that have benefited from having savings accounts, the match savings accounts. Financial capability training is a component included with these accounts and really important for families to also receive. Policy advocacy in regard to issues that impact finances and economic well-being of New Mexico families is something that Prosperity Works does as well. Bank On New Mexico is a new expansion on the protecting assets work at Prosperity Works. So Bank On New Mexico, we have a coalition. So we have Bank On New Mexico, and which is like the people part of it. And then we have the Bank On accounts, which are the products. So our coalition is focused on three things: ensuring availability of safe and affordable checking accounts, the Bank On certified accounts, which I'll talk about a little bit more here in a sec, raising public awareness of these efforts and opportunities, and expanding access to financial education and other financial empowerment opportunities. Bank On New Mexico is not a bank. However, we do encourage banks and credit unions to offer a Bank On certified account. And then we partner across sectors to connect residents to bank and credit union accounts certified as meeting the Bank On national account standards. So I will go into that here in a second, but first let's look at the national movement. So you're going to see these two logos throughout the presentation. So I'm going to share just a little bit about each one and how it all connects. So right there in the middle, the green one, Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund, is a national nonprofit that provides funding and technical assistance for systemic change by supporting financial empowerment programs and policies nationwide. Bank On, the logo you're seeing over on the left, is the CFE Fund's national Bank On platform and is a national movement that supports local coalitions like Bank On New Mexico to connect consumers to safe and affordable bank and credit union checking accounts that are called Bank On certified accounts. So the CFE Fund, again, the national partner, has 4 areas or keys that they focus on: asset building, banking access, consumer protection, and financial education and counseling. So Prosperity Works was awarded a Bank On Fellowship grant last fall to specifically advance banking access work in New Mexico. And this again is the Bank On New Mexico work. So I did mention the Bank On movement is a national effort. So I always like to share this map for demonstrating how big the Bank On movement is across the nation. There are over 473 Bank On certified bank and credit union accounts available across the country. They're at over 46,000 branches. And also there are over 100 Bank On coalitions across the country. We're really happy that we now have 2 dots here in New Mexico for doing this work. So when we talk about Bank On, there's 4 parts that we could consider and that we weave together when launching and implementing the work. So it's also known as the Bank On equation. So first we have the certified accounts, which are with financial institution partners. We have our coalitions, and these are the people that are working together, right, cross sectors. Research and data, some of it comes from us nationally, but we also make sure that we're doing our own local research and data. And then the program payment streams is where we connect these accounts, or we like to try to connect these accounts to organizations that are working with individuals that this would be of benefit. So foundational to making sure all of these parts come together in a meaningful way are the partnerships, right? And the cross sector conversations that happen as a result of all of these partnerships. So let's first talk about the products. First, let's talk about what the first set, the partnerships. So the first set is the National Bank On standards. So that's that sheet that you see over on the right. I know it's super tiny. I'm going to go over just some of the basics for that. If you're interested in seeing it, I'm going to share our website later where you can click on and see the full sheet if you're interested in seeing that. So the Bank On certified accounts, this national account standards was first started back in 2015. The Bank On certified accounts are typically checklist checking accounts with a debit card that includes free and unrestricted access to in-network ATMs. So these accounts, we always like to say they're safe, they're affordable, and they're functional. Bank On certified account features include no overdraft, non-sufficient fund fees or dormancy fees, a lot of the surprise fees that can happen. They're affordable, monthly fees of $5 or less with a low minimum opening deposit, typically $25 or less. And it's functional, which means that individuals can pay bills, make deposits, withdrawals, and transfer money. So they can go buy gas and go buy their groceries, all of it that you would expect with a checking account. So again, the full list of the standards is available on our website, and I'll share a little bit more about that here in a little bit. So the second part, which is the coalitions, is, who do we invite to be part of our work? These are a collaborative effort, and we benefit from having partners from all of these sectors. So of course, the financial institutions, those with certified accounts, and those interested in having a Bank On account, community organizations, not only social service organizations with program payment streams, but also advocacy and philanthropy. I consider being part of this sector as well. One of our partners, Asset Funders, falls into this space. Local government is really important for us to have in our coalition. Our New Mexico State Treasurer is already in support of our coalition, and is very supportive of the bank on efforts here in our state. Federal regulators such as FDIC. I also include organizations that support financial institutions such as the Credit Union Association of New Mexico and the Bankers Association. So these are, kind of the 4 buckets that we look at in terms of being very deliberate in searching out partnerships. So, and then in order to expand the access, though, to these bank-on accounts, we form partnerships with social service programs. So this is the community partners piece, right? And so we really look for programs so that we can create these program integrations. So you can see programs and payments plus bank-on equals a program integration. So we share what we really like to do with these program integrations is share about the benefits of having a checking account. And not so much us, but that the organization is providing a financial education. Our part is to just matchmake and make sure that there's information around these accounts, and then also maybe networking and matching with other partners. So ideally, the opportunities to open an account is also provided with these program integrations. The bank-on movement is strongest when awareness of the bank-on certified accounts are integrated with social service programs that have financial education and income opportunities, such as receiving a paycheck, stipend, or other type of payment. A good example of a program integration is like with some of our internships that we are working with. Future Focus Education is one organization that does an internship with young people, but it's a paid internship, which is really great. So they're a great example of this work. Of doing this work with a program integration. So as you guys are thinking about any ideas of some other programs that maybe we can connect to, we would love to connect with them. So I haven't been watching the chat or to see if there's any questions so far. Take a pause here if that's okay, to see if there's any questions about the national work before I go into the unbanked and underbanked. Juan, was there anything in the chat, or are there any questions yet?
No questions thus far in the chat, but to remind people, we will be taking breaks throughout this presentation. If you do have questions, just post them in the chat and we'll respond accordingly. Thank you.
Sure. And so we probably have about a couple more places where we can pause during the presentation. So I'll try to stop with each one of those segments so that we can answer the question timely. So I hope it was helpful to get some information, some background on our funders, the national movement, and the key elements that will help us grow Bank on New Mexico. So next I want to go into the why, and I'm explain what unbanked and underbanked, what are the differences with that? Why might someone be unbanked, and why does it matter who is unbanked? So what is unbanked? Unbanked means that no one in the household has a checking or savings account at a bank or credit union. So nationally, these numbers are estimated to be 4.5% of US households. Here in New Mexico, we are at 7% of our households, which equals about 58,380 households. I will mention here, probably you'll hear it a couple of times in the presentation, we are the 4th lowest in the nation, or the 4th highest, whichever way you want to go with that, in being unbanked nationally. So, we have a pretty high percentage of households here in New Mexico. And as you can see, compared to the national average, what that looks like. So what is underbanked? So again, there's unbanked, underbanked. Underbanked is when there's at least one of the following non-bank transactions or credit products or services were used in the past year. So an individual may have a checking or savings account, but they are going outside of the financial institution, for other services they could be accessing with their financial institution. So they're going to maybe payday lenders or pawn shops, the tax refund anticipation loans, that happens, auto title loans, all of those things. So that's what we mean with underbanked. And again, nationally, the numbers are estimated to be about 14% of US households. And here in New Mexico, we are at 17%. So we're higher than the national average in terms of households that are underbanked. So our next slide comes from FDIC. They do a national survey every few years. And this one is, the reasons for not having a bank account. I really like sharing this one because I think it dispels some of the myths and what we think about why people are unbanked. But if you look at the very top, so everything in blue is cited. So that meant it was given as a reason. And then everything that's in the tan color was the main reason that folks indicated on their survey. So at the very top, don't have enough money to meet minimum balance requirements. So this was the top reason, the main and the cited reason. So hopefully, with the bank on accounts with a minimum deposit of $25 or less, we're helping to combat that one. Avoiding a bank is more privacy. Don't trust banks. I tell you, I hear all kinds of stories around the trust issue for sure when I start talking to folks. Bank account fees are too high. Again, that's another reason for, the bank on accounts, because we make sure that those surprise fees can't happen. And that there is a $5 maximum fee on the monthly fee. Bank account fees are too unpredictable. So that was the two, the overdraft fees, the surprise fees. Those are up in the top 5. And then we have banks do not offer needed products and services. Bank locations are inconvenient. Problems with past banking or credit history. So this one is pretty low down, and I think this one comes back to that dispelling the myths or preconceptions of why we think folks are unbanked. So it's on there, but it's not as high on the list, I think, as some people would be thinking with why folks are unbanked. Don't have personal identification required to open an account. This one, I think, for New Mexico can be one of the things. I think, again, comes back to misperceptions around that every bank and credit union is the same in terms of what ID they're going to ask for. So we work on that with Bank on New Mexico and making sure that we're sharing that every institution is different and there are alternative IDs that are accepted at some institutions. So we help with that by creating a chart so that you can see what other IDs may be accepted at some of the institutions that we work with. And of course, there were other reasons and did not select a reason. So again, this is always a good one, and it creates some good conversations sometimes. Another graph that I like to share from FDIC is, unbanked rates by income level and race and ethnicity. So the differences in national unbanked rates between Black and white households and between Hispanic and white households in 2021 were present at every income level. I think there is that perception that, it's lower income folks, but when we're looking at it by race and ethnicity, it's happening at every level, which again, I think this was a surprise for me as I was learning about Bank On and learning about unbanked folks, is that we were seeing this at higher levels, again, across by race and ethnicity. Unfortunately, data is not available for all racial groups with this survey, and there wasn't any state data that I was able to find, but it is, this is from the FDIC. And again, really important for us to see. And so this comes back about, to why does banking access matter? It's that circle, that loop that gets created, right? With banking inequity, unbanked, it loops right into our social inequity, which loops right back again, right? It creates that vicious cycle. And, that is why banking access does matter for folks, because it is, starting on that journey. So I'm going to pause right here before I go into the other one, just to check and see if there are any questions around the data from FDIC or any questions about unbanked and underbanked.
Yes, Delma, we have one question.
Okay.
And I'll just quote here, if we are a nonprofit agency across 5 counties serving low-income families, how specifically do we offer this opportunity to these clients?
Well, and that would be a conversation. There's a couple of ways, or is there some additional information on that?
That was it.
Okay, I thought I heard somebody else speaking for a second. So I will share some resources at the very end. So there is the program integration piece where we are going in deeper, but there's also what we call like a referral piece where if it's just information that you want to share, we will have some handouts that will be shared, I think, with everyone afterwards. I'm going to show some examples at the end. Using the website is also another way that individuals can help others with that. And so there, for me, it would be, you know, having the conversation, is there financial education already happening? Do we want to drop information about this in there? I'm happy to chat with folks to see if maybe a PowerPoint would be helpful to provide to your instructors who are providing financial education already. I'm happy to do any of those things. And so, and we do have some specific counties that we want to make sure that we get into as well and that we work with. Thank you for the question. Appreciate that. Any other questions, Juan?
None at this time.
Okay.
Oh, one just popped in.
All
Oh,
right.
no, it was a thank you. It was a thank you from the person that we asked
Okay.
with.
All right. I now will share my information at the end. So be sure to reach out to me because I would be happy to have a conversation and to talk more so that we can brainstorm on that. So let's talk about banking access in New Mexico. So again, you know, the data is important for us to know. The geography, the population and race, a lot of us probably already know, but it's just a gentle reminder so that we're making sure that you know that we're looking at that. And then the talk about the banks and credit unions here in New Mexico. So, so this was there was an article that came out in December of last year. So I started with Prosperity Works a year ago in November. And then the following month, there was this article in the Albuquerque Journal about banking access. So super timely, right? For this article to come out. And so good information with this study. You know, New Mexico ranks third on the top 10 worst states for banking access. I shouldn't be happy, and I'm not happy about that. None of us are happy about that. But it was good for us, for me as a data person, as a project manager, to have this to refer to. So again, I know we're all tired of hearing about all of our bad rankings for New Mexico. However, this one was specific to banking access, so I have to share. So the first bullets, you know, they did look at 5 areas for this study by Forbes Advisor. They looked at banks and credit unions per capita. That was 30% for those of you who are interested in knowing how much, you know, weight was given to each one of these. Predatory lenders per capita, that was another 30%. Percentage of unbanked residents was 20%. The change in the percentage of unbanked residents was 5%. And then the percentage of residents without access to internet was 15%, because this really does correlate to no access to online banking. And I know we're working on it here in our state, but it's also, you know, something for us to keep in mind. Again, not good news, but important for us to know. So unfortunately, New Mexico scored only a 2.67 out of a possible 100 points. We ranked 11th lowest for the number of banks and credit unions per 100,000 residents, 22nd highest for predatory lending establishments. And for the no access to internet, we do have the 4th highest share of households in the nation with these. And so all of these contributed to the low ranking that we received in this study. So again, not good news for us, but I do promise I'm gonna have good news for you guys here in a little bit. So hold on. So let's look at the data. You know, again, a lot of us already know this, but just a good refresher. But look at the Economic Development Department of New Mexico in the blue box first. It's over on the right. So, you know, important for us to remember, you know, we are 49% Hispanic in our state, 36 white, not Hispanic, 11% Native American, 3% Black or African American, and 3% Asian. Also important to keep in mind is language, because language is access, right? 34% speak a language other than English at home, Spanish or Dene. And so again, this is data from the Economic Development Department. So again, important for us to keep that in mind, especially as we're thinking through how we're doing Bank on New Mexico. So know that we are looking at that. Let me take a sip. On the other side of your screen, you're going to see Prosperity Now data. So again, 7% of our households are unbanked here in New Mexico. Fourth highest nationwide. We have about 58,380 households that are without a checking or savings account. So what is this breakdown in terms of race and ethnicity? Is that 10% of Hispanic Latinx households are without a checking or savings account. And if you look over on the other side, with that being about half of New Mexico, so 10% of half of New Mexico, that's pretty high. 2% of white households, 12% of our native households, again, another high number. 2% of Asian households, and 5% that identified as others. So, when we're talking about that social inequity piece and all that, this is part of what, is factoring into all of that is, with the unbanked numbers here in New Mexico. So also to keep in mind that New Mexico, in terms of banking, it's important for us to know this data as well. We are the 5th largest state. We're very rural. We have 17 persons per square mile compared to 87 per square mile nationally. So, a lot of this factors into, when they're putting financial institutions out there, out in our community. So we are at 27.49 financial institutions per 100,000 residents. Again, this was, us at the 11th, having, we're the 11th lowest on the list for this number. We have 3.41 predatory lenders per 100,000 residents, which has us at the 22nd highest on the list. So again, these are things to remember. One of the things I did is I was looking at the data because, it's kind of sad that we do this, but we always want to look at, well, we're 4th, but who are the other 3 that are worse than us, right? And so, we do have, there's Mississippi, Louisiana, and Missouri were those other 3 states. And so part of what I looked at was like, well, okay, so their unbanked numbers are bad, are worse than ours, but then what are their numbers in terms of predatory lenders, and it's interesting to see that there really is a correlation with all of that. With Mississippi, they have 11.10 percent that are unbanked, but then they have 13.74 predatory lenders per capita, which is super high, right? And so you see that, right? Louisiana is 8.10% unbanked, and they have 9.26 predatory lenders per capita. So again, high number. Missouri, again, 7.4 unbanked, and they have 5.83 predatory lenders per capita. So, there is a correlation between those two in terms of, how they intersect and it happens, right? So since we're talking about predatory lenders or small dollar loans, I want to talk a little bit about what that looks like here in New Mexico. Some of you may be aware, and if not, this is good information for you to have. As of January 1st, 2023, in New Mexico, the interest rate cap for a small dollar loan got capped at 36 APR, which still seems really high, but it's not 175%, which is what it was, and was one of the highest caps on installment loans in the country. So super high, right? It's unbelievable that that was there. This legislative win did take over 15 years, and we're really proud that here at Prosperity Works, we helped lead the charge in advocating for this interest rate cap. Some other good information to know around small dollar loans is that once this interest cap went into effect, about a quarter of the small dollar loan places decided to not do business here in New Mexico anymore. But it still left us about 264 small dollar loan companies in New Mexico. Half of these are online only, but the other half do have on-site localities here in New Mexico. That's 133 still in our state, and there's some zip codes that they like to focus on more than others. And so just understanding that, that these intersect, and that's why it's so important for us to do the bank on work here, is to make sure that folks are getting connected to financial institutions so they can establish a relationship where they don't have to go outside and get these other small dollar loans or the predatory loans. So for good information to have. So, okay, now I'm getting to the good news. So this is where it gets good, and it's all good news from here, I promise. So the banks and credit unions here in New Mexico, even though we don't have as many per capita, we do have some very strong partners and strong banks and credit unions. We have 55 local and national banks here in our state. for a total of about 397 branches. 7 of the largest banks have 173 of the branches. This is over 40% of the branches. The good news is that all 7 of these banks already offer a bank on certified account. As a matter of fact, we have 13 banks total for 219 branches throughout the state that are offering the bank on account. This means that we have about 55% of bank branches here in our state already offering these accounts. We have 40 credit unions for about 150 branches throughout the state. The largest credit union has 25 branches. Good news is that largest credit union does have a bank on account. And right now we have 3 credit unions on board for a total of about 42 branches across our state that are offering the bank on account. So this makes about 28% of credit union branches. So we have some work to do on this side in terms of recruiting credit unions to also have the bank on accounts. And we have 4 that are online only financial institutions that you will see up on our website as well, which I'm going to show you here in a little bit. So that was part of the good news. Again, we can take a pause here as well if there are any questions in the chat about any of the information before I go diving into Bank on New Mexico and some of the other information. Are there any questions, Juan?
No questions at this point, Delma. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so now let's continue with the good news about Bank on New Mexico. And so, it is, we're a new coalition, but the work had started in 2021. And so just kind of as a recap, we have 21 accounts currently available here. We have 5 that are online and 15 with branches across New Mexico. We have 13 banks and 3 credit unions for over 260 branches. So the seal that you see over on the left there is the seal that every financial institution who gets one of these accounts or that modifies one of their accounts to fit the requirements to be a bank on certified account receives this seal. And so the bank or credit union name goes on the top and then the account name on the bottom. So this is what financial institutions receive so that they can use it for marketing, put up on their website. And you're also going to see these up on our website as well. So I always tell folks, look for the bank on seal for the account because, banks and credit unions do have a variety of products. Once they receive the seal, it doesn't mean that every product has the no overdraft fee feature. It means that one particular product that has the seal is bank on certified. So once a financial institution has this seal, it doesn't mean it's for all products. It means it's for that particular product. And so here are our financial institutions that have the bank on product. Some of these I'm sure you're very familiar with. Like Bank of America has the Bank of America Advantage Safe Balance Banking. So you're going to notice that every name is different. So a lot of them don't even say bank on, which is kind of a little bit of a hard one for us, but we've put some solutions in place on our website to help with that. But you see Bank of Albuquerque is on here, Chase is on here, First Citizens Bank and Trust, First Convenience Bank, also known as First National Bank Texas in other states, New Mexico Bank and Trust, New Senda Credit Union, PNC Bank, Rio Grande Credit Union, Sunflower Bank, U.S. Bank, U.S. Eagle Federal Credit Union, Vectra Bank of Colorado. We do have one location there up in Farmington for that institution. Washington Federal Bank or WaFed Bank and Wells Fargo are all our partners, and they all have a bank on account, and they all have these different names. So I'm not going to go through and repeat all the names because I'm going to show you in a little bit how to find this information in an easy way. So again, part of the great news is when we started looking and doing a landscape analysis and a dive into seeing what is across the state now in terms of bank on, is that we are in 28 of 33 counties, which is really great. We're super excited about that. And in 36 cities across the state. So it did start, in Albuquerque, Bank on Buque, but, as every institution signed on, all of the branches across the state, of course, then offer the bank on accounts as well. So if you're wondering which counties we're still wanting to get into, it's Mora County and Harding, which are up in the top. DeBaca County, they're in the middle. And then Catron and Hidalgo counties are the ones that we are going to be focusing and working on to try to make sure we have these accounts available there. So our website, we do have our website. I hope you go check it out. You can see on here, the top and the bottom of the first page. The things that are getting circled, the first thing that you're going to see down in the corner, down at the bottom right, is, we did talk about languages access. The website does translate into other languages. You just have to scroll down and click so that you can get everything translated into another language. So that button is down here in the corner. And then I like to point out these two items here as well. Up at the top, there's a way to contact us. And then also on the bottom for receiving newsletter updates or updates as we get going, we'll be having those go out more regularly. But there are two ways to contact us, and then also, of course, to be able to see the website in other languages. Also on our website, one of the first things that we did was to develop this tool and to have a Google map. So I know it looks super tiny up on the screen, but I promise there are 260 of those dots on that map. So every financial institution branch is up on our Google map. So I'm going to show you a few examples because I know that was really hard to see. So here's a few examples. Here's Las Cruces. You can see Farmington is on there with some, and then also Albuquerque. And so once you zoom in, you'll be able to see those little tokens, and you'll be able to see location-wise financial institutions that offer the bank on accounts. I will note that in Albuquerque, you can see there's quite a few. Albuquerque, of course, is the biggest city that we have. And about 46% of all the bank and credit unions that are offering a bank on certified account are in Albuquerque or Bernalillo County. So we have some work to do in the rest of the state, and that's what Bank on New Mexico is here for. So, again, going more into the Google map, you click on the token and you're going to see these little boxes pop up beside. And so here's an example from Santa Fe and Gallup. Over here on Santa Fe, if you click on the US Eagle Financial Credit Union token, you're going to see the little box pop up. And then the part that you're seeing circled is the name of the bank on account. So not only will you see the name of the institution, you're going to see their address, you're going to get a link to their website, but you're going to be able to see the name of the account that an individual needs to ask for. Over in Gallup, we see US Bank, and they offer the safe debit account. So again, this is a nice tool for whether it's an individual, if you're a financial coach or et cetera, and you want to help someone find an account, you can go to our website and use this Google map. So also on that same page, the accounts page, you're going to see all our bank on seals. This is another way to go through and do a search. You can click on the account name. This example was for Nusenda. And so for me, this is kind of a reverse look. If you're wanting a specific institution that you want to see where they're at, this is a great way to look that way. Go down, again, click on the account name, their web page will pop up, and then this is a great way to find their branches and ATM locations. So again, this is kind of a reverse lookup from the Google map. So there's a couple of ways that you can search for a bank on account. So all 21 seals, all 21 financial institutions are on this page with all of their seals. I think there's just one that doesn't have a website up yet, but the rest of them on there. And as you can see with Nusenda, they have their bank on seal on that for that product page. So some other tools that we have, I'm going to have links for them up soon, hopefully up on our website. But you will be receiving these afterwards with the materials that will be coming to you. We do have, I call this our consumer facing page. This one's a great one for individuals, be great for partners. That can be shared, that folks can, see about Bank On. Great information. We have a QR code there that takes folks straight to the website, instructions on how to get started. And of course, telling people to look for the seal, right? Making sure to do that. So we do have it in English and we also have it in Spanish. You will be receiving both. Feel free to make copies and distribute as you see that it would work for your clients or your any couple of family members too, be a good one there too. Also, another item that you will be receiving is what I call our program flyer. So this one has good information about Bank on New Mexico, very appropriate for program partners to have, to be able to see that we're, across the state with, being able to see the map and understanding that we are national work. And then, of course, that again, I'll emphasize that we are strongest when knowledge of these accounts is integrated with financial education and financial disbursements or some kind of a payment program. So those more tools that will be up on the website here soon, next month sometime for sure, hoping by the end of this month, but you guys will, all of you will be receiving the electronic forms of this. So the last thing I want to mention as another tool or resource to come learn more and maybe join our coalition is that we have our first coalition meeting happening this month. Actually, it's next Monday from 9:30 a.m. to noon. We'll be at the Nusenda Training Center over on Pan American. It is a hybrid event, so you can join physically, come in person to the Nusenda Training Center, but we are offering it virtual as well so that you can join us that way. We have some great guest speakers. We have State Treasurer Laura Montoya, U.S. Bank Vice President Branch Manager Benjamin Gutierrez, who's been in the bank on work since the get-go, and our Chief Executive Officer of United Way of Southwest New Mexico, Amanda Morales, will provide her perspective as a new person coming into the bank on work. Registration links can be found at eventbrite.com. They'll look like this, just giving you an example so that you'll know that you're on the right page. It should have the Bank on New Mexico on there. And again, there's a virtual link registration and in-person registration. So I'll put this screen up and just check in to see if there's any other questions. So we have our website and also an email if you would like some more information. Check in with you, Juan. Any questions? No?
Demo, I don't know where Juan went, but we do have two. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
One question, and I quote is there a reason why State Employees Credit Union is not on board?
Well, we need to encourage them to get on board. If you have any connections there, it would be great. So, we are, inviting all financial institutions to come on board and have one of these bank on accounts. And credit unions are the most awesome of partners. They usually already have a product that's really, really close to meeting the qualifications to have a bank on account. So I will say that come to the coalition meeting. We are going to announce that we are going to have another financial institution roundtable where we invite financial institutions to come hear about what is the process for getting an account certified. So we will be offering that in November. Good question. Thank you.
Another question, Delma. If someone asks the institution for the bank on account, can the institution try to get them to take on a different account? And does it matter if the person does not have the exact name or account or can just ask for a bank on account?
So that's a really good question too. And that's one of the reasons that we created the tools the way we did, because there's a lot of turnover, as you guys know, a lot of businesses, right? And it's happening at financial institutions as well. So the front person, the person you talk to first at the institution may not know what the bank on account is, right? Some of our financial institution partners are, trying to make sure they're doing training to make sure there's an awareness around, what the bank on account is. For some financial institutions, that is like their main account, and for some it's not. And so it just depends. Because that is a worry, especially when I'm talking to nonprofit partners about, well, if I send them in, what do I take with them? So a lot of times I say, take the page in because you know you're going to have the QR code on there to be able to find that. Just make sure the individuals know which account that they're asking for. It does help to have the name of the account. Again, financial institution is going to be a little bit different on that. They may not be trained up at the front to ask that. Now about upselling, I call it upselling into another account, right? You know, where they walk in and then they talk to you and they're trying to pull you into another account. And I, you know, emphasize on that thing. It's always good to ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask questions. And if you're more comfortable in the bank on account, then that's where you need to be. You know, please let me know you know, call me, let me know, send me an email if that is not happening for your clients, if, you know, if something different is happening at those institutions, because then I do share that with our steering committee and with our financial institution partners. So we do have a steering committee. I didn't mention that a majority of the financial institution partners do sit on, and so that we can have that conversation. Thank you for asking that. That question comes up a lot.
Another question, and I believe you've answered this, but let's circle around again, and that is, are there banks in Santa Fe offering this product?
Yes, there are. So if you go to that Google map and look up in Santa Fe, you're going to see, you know, which banks are up there. And there was a Santa Fe, there was a US Eagle up on the PowerPoint, and there's other institutions there as well that are offering the bank on account.
That's all the questions that we have at this point. However, if anyone else has a question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask at this point. And I'm going to do a quick share screen here for everyone. You will see at the bottom of this screen, there's a link there that will take you to the Bank on New Mexico October Coalition meeting that Delma mentioned. I'd like to thank folks today for participating in this presentation. Tesha Henderson, our Administrative Office of the Courts, for hosting us. Again, my name is Juan Abeta. I'm with the Community Engagement Team of the New Mexico Access to Justice Commission. And definitely thanks to Delma Madrigal, our presenter today. And Delma, if there are groups out there that maybe are aware of other organizations or other members in their community that have an interest in the Bank On products, again, they can either contact you directly or go to the website, correct?
I should unmute. Yes, no, for sure. If you'd like a presentation for staff or another group, I'm happy to do so. I can do them a little bit shorter, can, you know, certainly open up for more questions. But yes, please do reach out. It's delma@prosperityworks.net. So just make sure it's the .net on there. It's not a .org, but I'm happy to chat more and to set up more presentations.
Terrific. Thank you, Delma. And just a reminder to everyone, if you registered for this, you will be receiving the handouts that Delma has referenced. You'll also be receiving a link to the webinar, which has been recorded. It will be posted on the New Mexico Courts website. If you go to that website and then click on ATJ, Access to Justice Webinars, you'll have a whole list of webinars there, previous webinars that we've recorded as well. And you're welcome to view any and all of those. Delma, thank you so much today for your presentation.
Yeah.
And thank you all participants for joining us. Spread the word. There's a lot of unbanked households out there, and let's make sure that people have access to good financial resources.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.